Illinois prosecutors charging a 9-year-old boy with multiple counts of murder for setting a house fire that killed 5 people, 4 family members, and the boy's mother's fiance, happening in a trailer home. The deceased including 3 babies. The boy's family and friends are calling for leniency.
Some children, even some adults today, had things happen when they were younger. They grew out of it, somebody nurtured them, and they have a very prosperous, productive adulthood now. So I believe they deserve a chance.
Let's bring in our legal panel, trial attorney Rachel Self and defense attorney and former prosecutor David Schwartz. Rachel, I'm going to start with you. Is this charge too steep for a 9-year-old, or is it a justifiable charge? And then what's the defense argument? How it's going to play out in court, and will this be tried in court? And David, then I'll let you answer all of those as well. Rachel?
This case is absolutely, thank you so much, Arthel. This case is absolutely horrifying, a straight-up tragedy, and very, very disturbing. However, charging this child with 5 counts of murder is broad overreach. Everybody here is familiar with the idea of mens rea, or the guilty mind. And what that boils down to is they're going to need to prove murder is a specific intent crime, so they're going to need to prove that this child not only intended the crime, but understood the consequences of his actions. There is no way that they're going to be able to establish that vital element for a jury, and I think that really it's a way overcharged here.
David?
I agree with that. You know, the bottom line is a 9-year-old does not have the mental capacity to commit an intentional murder. It's just not even possible. So the idea of overcharging, I wouldn't even call it overcharging. I think it's an illegal charge, and I think the murder charges are going to get thrown out. Bottom line is this child is not going to go to jail, so it's not like he's being tried as an adult. He's going to be tried as a juvenile, and the top sentence really is probation.
I want to read a statement.
What's really...
Hang on one second, Rachel, because I want to move this forward. I've got some specifics for you. I want to read a statement from the boy's mother. Her name is Katie Allwood, and part of her statement says, quote, "He made a terrible mistake. He's a child. Even though he lit the fire, I know his intentions were not to kill anybody. I know that he cries and cries and cries because he misses his family." And the mother also says the boy who suffered from schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and ADHD is not a monster, and that people should pray for the help that he needs. And so, Rachel, back to you now. Is the mother culpable in any way for not having her son under strict psychiatric supervision?
Well, apparently there was some attempt to do so. DCF had apparently been out to the house about 12 or 13 times, and whether or not the mother's ultimately going to be somehow liable in this situation remains to be seen. We haven't seen any of the underlying facts to this case other than broad strokes that the prosecutors provided to us. The county attorney seemed to indicate that the reason these charges have come down were, quote, for finality. So it's almost as if they're looking to somehow have the ability to have the services in place that the criminal justice system is going to allow for this child to get the treatment that they need. What's very interesting here is that in most countries, the minimum age that you can be charged with a crime is 14. In Massachusetts, the minimum age is 12. So Illinois was actually the first state to start a juvenile court. And so it's a really interesting commentary that now they're charging a 9-year-old with murder, when in most states you'd have to be at least 12 to be charged with such a crime. So it shows that there's definitely been a departure for that state in how they treat juveniles. I think that there's just been a lot of confusion about how to handle this tragedy.
David, hang on. I'm going to get you in there, but first I want to read this quote from the president of the Juvenile Justice Initiative, which advocates for less reliance on incarceration and more fairness for the lives of all troubled youths. It says, quote, "It doesn't matter how serious the charge is, neuroscience, brain development, all of it points to the fact that young children shouldn't be held culpable. I'm not saying there shouldn't be some sort of accountability, but they need services, not sanctions." So, David, to you, what do you say to that?
Well, I think there's a distinction between intentional crimes and negligent crimes and reckless crimes. You know, in Illinois, a 6-year-old could be charged. So anyone between the ages of 6 and 18 could be charged as a juvenile. But when we're talking about an intentional murder, it's inconceivable that a 9-year-old could form the intent needed to commit a murder. Now, what the mother was saying about didn't intend to commit murder. If you intend to commit an arson, that's not a defense. So if you intend to commit an arson and a homicide takes place, that's good enough for arson murder.
I have to leave it there. I'm wondering if the 28-year-old mother is going to get the mental care assistance that she's going to need in this case, but we have to leave it there. Yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad.
Tragic.
David Schwartz, Rachel Self, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Eric.